Join Dan Costa, CEO of Noble Outfitters, as he travels the country to meet America's great rural retailers. Hear their story in their own words. Meet aspiring young people. Learn new recipes and more.
I don't know where we're going to end up next week, but we may be late because we got a lot of work to do here.
I could even ride this horse. If I keep eating like I've been eating, Jim, I'll be coming back for a pair of these.
Join us weekly as we travel on the road with Noble Outfitters.
You're on the road with Noble Outfitters, and welcome to a special edition of You're on the Road with Noble Outfitters. We are in the great state of Ohio. We're going to have some fun facts about this great state, and we're also going to visit one of our best customers in Columbus, Ohio, called Rod's Western Palace. We've had a fun time over the years going out across this beautiful country and showing our products to our customers and showing you, our customers, the great American store that founded this country and serviced the settlers as they moved across the West. We're also going to be celebrating the National Day of the Cowboy right here in Columbus, Ohio this week. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Stay tuned and we'll be right back to show you more.
Noble Outfitters, all-around work boot for the country's best athletes.
You're on the road with Noble Outfitters, and we're in Columbus, Ohio. Ohio has so many interesting facts, but fact number one, first city in the United States to have traffic lights. Also, the first city in the United States to have a stoplight. How come? Thomas Edison was born here, and he created the light bulb right here in Ohio. There's lots of fun things going on at Rod's Western Palace, and we're going to see all of them today. But the first thing we're going to see is their beautiful store. And Ashley Musselman, hello Ashley.
Nice to meet you.
How are you?
Good.
Ashley's going to show us around this beautiful store and tell us a little bit about this segment of the business, because there's so many things going on here. We've got e-commerce and the catalog and the shipping and the tax shop, and this is more of just a Western lifestyle store. So from front to back, I mean, you have all kinds of different things here.
Well, when you walk in the store, you're going to see our beautiful home decor section, which definitely highlights the Western theme in any Western home. As you come down the stairs, you'll see our clothing department. We start with the ladies' clothing. And here we try to really work hard with our displays and making sure the customer can see, you know, a full outfit and absolutely pick out exactly what they want just from walking right in the store and seeing everything there is to see. And we try to strive for great customer service as well. We want our employees to be able to offer you whatever you need. You know, if you have trouble finding jeans, we try to make sure we can find the jeans for you. And as you go through the store, you'll see some more clothing departments, men's clothing, kids' clothing, and straight on back to boots, which is where everybody likes to go.
I understand that this was the original store segment right here, and that started in 1976. And then as the company grew and created more process and more programs with catalogs and e-commerce and shipping, the company just kept growing and took over this whole property.
Yeah,
So
the owner likes to say, you know, we've grown a lot, but the store's still our bread and butter. This is where it all began.
Well, we're going to take a look around and see everything, and then I understand we're going to meet a fellow in the back that you might know as well.
I know him a little bit, yeah.
You know that a little bit? Okay, well, we'll find him back there. We'll see. I'm gonna rib him a little bit about how he knows you. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll take a look around and we'll find you in a little bit.
Sounds great.
Okay, take care. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Hang on and we'll be right back. Fun fact number 2 about Ohio. The Cincinnati Red Stockings won their first game by a 45-9 score. First season, 57 wins, no losses. They later became the Cincinnati Reds, and they still are today. Now we're going to walk into this beautiful boot section managed by Kiefer Musselman.
How you doing?
How are you, Kiefer?
Doing well.
So, you know, there's a little ring in the air here. I got Musselman up front, I got Musselman in the back. You know, how'd all these Musselmans get started here?
Well, I met Ashley here at Rod's, and she fell in love pretty quickly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not the story I got.
Well, you know.
I got that you were coming in here shopping one day, and you happened to see Ashley.
Yeah.
And then you came back a little while later and filled out an application and tried to get a job here.
Yeah, something like that.
And then you moved your way in.
Yeah, right.
Well, you're a lucky man. She's a sweetheart.
Oh yeah.
So how long you been with Rod's?
It'll be 5 years next month. So.
And footwear is your section.
Yep. When I first started here, I was working in the boot department, just part-time. Really started enjoying it. Really started to learn quite a bit about it, and it's where I've always been.
There's so many different styles, and there's so many different trends that go on. How do you keep track of this? I understand you buy the footwear as well.
Correct.
Right.
We try and keep on top of it. Go to a lot of markets, get a lot of magazines, catalogs. Just try and see what's out there and keep ahead of the game.
Yeah, I'm going to listen to the customer.
Oh yeah.
Because the customer's always changing. I think that's what the most interesting thing is about business is a customer's always moving and changing. And what really helps you get up in the morning and come in and talk to your customers? What do you enjoy the most?
Well, I really enjoy helping the customer. I know when I was just a customer coming into the stores and shopping, it's a lot to take in. So if you have somebody that's really knowledgeable, can really help you out and lead you in the right direction, it's very beneficial.
Well, one of the things I notice about Rod's is I go all over the country and see all of our stores and as many as I can. And customer service, everybody talks about customer service. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different here at Rod's. I mean, you can't get 2 feet in that door and you got people saying welcome and what can we do for you and what's going on. And it's not like, everybody's all over you, but at the end of the day, people know when they come here, you're going to get serviced.
Oh, yeah,
you're going to get somebody that actually understands the product, tells you about the product, explains it to you, and helps you get your way through it.
Yep.
Well, thank you for taking some time, Kiefer.
Appreciate it.
Pleasure meeting you.
Yep, nice to meet you.
And we'll see you soon.
All right.
You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. We will be right back with more. Stay tuned.
You're watching On the Road with Noble Outfitters.
There are 323 million people in the United States of America, and 50% of the nation's population live within 500 miles of the city of Columbus, Ohio. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters, and as we continue on to learn more and see more here at Rod's Western Palace, we are now at the Tack Barn, and we're going to meet John Johnson, who's the manager of the tack store, and you're going to tell us a little bit about all the things that go on here that have to do with Western lifestyle. This is a saddle.
That is a saddle.
And for me, I'm kind of a city slicker, okay? So I haven't spent a lot of time in a saddle, but actually a saddle is a very comfortable thing. I could see myself though after about 4 hours in this saddle, maybe needing a little salve in other places, but but it's a very comfortable thing, and it's actually another one of those things where you look at America and you look at what was important to America and to the settlers and what was going on here, and the saddle's just like a piece of the backbone of the country. It was almost like a part for the car, right? I mean, you had the horse and you had the saddle.
Yeah, the saddle actually worked so much better for the rider, the cowboy, and the horse, because it actually disperses his weight. So he's not putting all his weight on one spot on the horse's back. So it makes the horse allow to be able to work longer hours and the cowboy to work longer
I never
hours.
thought about that. So it's not just for the cowboy's comfort, it's also for the horse.
Yeah.
Like a backpack or suspenders. It helps the horse with that distribution of weight.
Correct.
The interesting thing about the saddle too is there's so many different types of saddles.
There is.
And later today we're going to learn a little bit more about cutting, which is a discipline of horseback riding,
Correct.
which is a discipline of cutting and working with a cow and the horse. Is there a cutting saddle?
There is a cutting saddle.
Now it's because there's cutting saddle, there's the barrel saddle, what makes a saddle different?
Well, the different disciplines, the way they build the saddles, it actually is designed to help the rider with that discipline. The saddle that you're in is what we would call a reining saddle. And basically what that does, it has a little deeper pocket because some of the maneuvers, the rider has to sit really square under the horse. And the fenders have a lot of swing to them because we're moving the shoulders and hips. The cutters, it's usually a little bigger seat because the rider has to maintain his seat because of the maneuver the horse is doing.
Horse is making quick moves.
The horse is doing the maneuvers for the biggest part. I mean, actually, there is some cue from that rider's part, but most of the cutting is done. The horse is taking his cues for himself. He goes, okay, I know this game.
Right.
And the calf comes up and the game is on.
Right.
And he's trying to prevent the calf from getting back into the herd.
Fun.
This is one of those practical applications with horses that has become a sport. Yeah.
But I also understand that you do a hat shaping and a hat fitting here for the customers.
Yeah, we do.
So I'd like to look a little bit about that and see a little bit more around the store. And I appreciate you taking some time to show us around and share your knowledge with us. And I wish you all the best for more years to come.
Sounds good. My pleasure.
My pleasure, John. Thank you very much. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Hang on, we're going to show you some hats at the Hat Bar in one moment. 16% of the U.S. presidents have come from the great state of Ohio, including William Henry Harrison, Ulysses S. Grant, Rutherford B. Hayes, James Garfield, Benjamin Harrison, William McKinley, Robert Taft, and Warren G. Harding. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. We're at Rod's Tack Barn, and we are going to visit the Hat Bar. We are with Eric Seaman. How are you, Eric?
I'm excellent today.
Pleasure to meet you. And I want to know a little bit about hats because I can't figure out which one I want to buy. I just like them
You have
all.
quite an assortment today.
Yeah, which one do you think looks best?
Probably the cheetah up there.
Think so?
Yeah, I might go with you.
Kind of my personality. Actually, a hat has to do a lot with the personality of the person that's wearing this hat.
Definitely,
A person wants that hat to fit them and be what they want it to be. So interesting, I saw these hats all over the store, and I just looked at this and thought, oh, that's like Hoss Cartwright's hat, you know, that's how he used to wear it. But basically this is an unshaped hat.
Correct.
And then the other thing I want to learn about is, besides how you shape the hats and how you make the hat how that person wants it, I also want to know a little bit about because the hats were made originally from beaver,
Correct.
right? Mm-hmm. And the beaver felt is just an amazing fabric, amazing process to create a perfect hat, because it holds its shape, it wears and tears well, because these hats go through a lot of work. They're very functional, you know, for the cowboy. But tell me about the beaver content, you know, the 20X, the 30X, the 40X. What does that mean?
The best hair to make a hat from is the beaver hair, because beavers live in water. Mm-hmm. So it makes them much more durable and easier to shape and to keep their shape. A lot of hats now will have a percentage of beaver. A 20X might have 20% beaver, and then it'll have a wild hair. A 10X would have 10% beaver, and then another percentage of hair.
So the higher X, the more beaver.
more beaver.
And what is the highest X that you've seen?
Oh, you can have any kind of X that you would like, but a pure beaver, which is this one, is 100% beaver. There's nothing
100% beaver
in this hat but
wow.
beaver fur.
And you can feel that.
Yes.
I mean, that is like, it's like a piece of board.
These are very durable. They last for years with minimal care.
Now, what would happen, the difference between this and this price point wise? What would this hat
These
be?
go for around $1,200.
Okay, do I have any of those on?
No.
Okay, good. And then this one?
This one is a 7X. They go for about $200 to $300. Depends on the maker who makes the hat.
Okay,
could be different
$1,200 for, I mean, I
They're
didn't,
for
I
people
didn't
that
realize
wear
that.
their hat every day.
Right. Well, it'll last them forever.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, tell me a little bit about shaping then. How does that actually take place? I know it happens with steam, and there's a certain way to do that.
So when they make the hat, They use all the fur, and they use the belly fur, the really small little tiny bits of fur, and it's interwoven in the hat. So we use steam, and it loosens up the hair so we can make it pliable.
Okay.
And then it'll dry quite rapidly into the shape that we want it to.
All right, and so basically you're just moving it around
Yep.
that steam so that it allows itself to loosen up so that you can shape it. But once you shape it, that's it.
On a felt hat, you can shape it as many times as you'd like.
So you could reshape it. But will it lose its shape?
They will lose their shape over time. Humidity will get to them. Just wearing them, being out in the rain.
This is fascinating. So do people come in and say, hey, I need a little reshaping?
Every day.
They come in and, just like
Well,
they come
not
in for a
that same
shoe
person, but
shine,
there
they'll
we
come
have
in.
people in and out every day, yeah.
Right, but they'll come in and say, hey, I need a little redo here.
Yep.
That's now yours I see is like square in the front, and then I see others have a different.
The rounder.
I mean, it's personal preference, right?
Personal preference. Some disciplines, guys that ride cutting horses like them a little flatter. Some of the rodeo guys like them really flat. The horse show crowd likes them a little taller. So every discipline has their own little shape. And then a lot of cowboys like them shaped how their own style.
So, Eric, what kind of price you give me on this, baby?
Oh, we'd make you a nice deal, $300.
Can I get that flower taken off there?
I think it adds a little bit to your eyes.
You think so?
I think so. Even your size.
We'll be right back with more.
You're watching On the Road with Noble Outfitters.
We're back with another part of Rod's Western Palace, and every time I move around this building, I find new and great things. This is the area where all the action happens when it comes to the catalog and website. With me is Janet Butcher. Janet?
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you very much for your hospitality here today. It's
Thank
been
you.
so much fun going around and seeing everybody. And
Great to have you.
how long have you been with Rod's?
So I have been with Rods for 24 years this August.
It just keeps coming, right? 23, 22, 24, it's wonderful.
Yes.
And how did you start here?
So I grew up showing horses, and I'm from a small town here in Ohio, and I always shopped at Rods as a child, and I moved to Columbus and started at Ohio State in the early 90s, and started working here and just kind of come up through the ranks.
That's perfect.
Yep.
That's perfect. The name Rod's Western Palace, to me, really didn't sink in until I've gone through all the buildings.
Sure.
I've been here before, and I've talked to you, and I go over here, and I go over there, but I just didn't see everything. So really, when you look at the store and you look at the Western lifestyle of the store, and then you go into the tack barn and you see everything that you need for the horse and the rider, and then you come into here and you think about how you can put all that together to get it to the consumer all over the world. Because really, you don't have to actually come into the Western Palace to visit the Western Palace. You can now go to this wonderful website that you've created.
Yes, you can.
And you can have all those products available to all the consumers around the country. So the first catalog started going out in when?
1990.
1990 was the first catalog.
Yes.
And you send out catalogs every quarter, like spring catalog, fall catalog, summer
Produce
catalog.
catalogs 4 times a year.
The work that goes into this, though, it amazes me because you do all of your own photography, and we're
do.
here in your photo studio. You do all your own decorating and set design
we
and
do.
everything for the catalogs. So I'm just going to have to say, how do you pull that off?
Yeah, it's quite a project. We're very proud of it once it's completed and in the mail. We start about 4 to 6 months ahead of the mailing, just sourcing product. We're very much known in the catalog world for our ladies' Western fashion, and then as well as our home business. One of the company's biggest departments is our bedding department, believe it or not.
Bedding.
Yes, yes. So we start by selecting product. We go to all the major trade shows and we work directly with vendors. We sample in, we narrow down, we sift through a lot of product to decide what we're actually going to print into the book. Once we narrow down the product, and we know the products that we want to present in our catalog, then the whole creative process starts. So we sample everything in. We have decided which items are going to be paginated together on a spread. And then we bring in an outside stylist, and she starts planning all the accessories and the boots and everything that
What
go
I
into
noticed
it.
in the catalog is it's really decorated. So,
Yes.
you know, I mean, you've got on a beautiful Noble Outfitters shirt here. But if you show this in the catalog, you're going to show it with some nice jewelry and a really nice shot that allows the consumer to look at that shirt and say, wow, that's really cute. And oh, I could wear that with this. And that would look good with those boots because look at that.
Yeah, that's what we're known for. We're known for presenting full merchandising and outfits to our customers.
It's kind of interesting that you communicate with your customer
Yes.
and you don't talk to them.
It is interesting. Yeah, the website is great. It allows us to post new product almost weekly. We're always putting up new items and staying ahead of the trends and offering the best selection for our customers to shop that we can.
Go online, visit rods.com, purchase some Noble Outfitters stuff from it too while you're at it. Janet, thank you for the time you've spent with me and the hospitality that you all have shown us here.
Great to have you.
We're having a great time. We're enjoying it. And we've got all kinds of things coming up. We got Cowboy Days coming up tomorrow.
Yes, we do.
I'm going to be barbecuing, by the way. So
Looking forward.
come by for a little bite to eat, and we'll do that. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Stay tuned. Much more from Rod's Western Palace in Ohio. Visit rods.com for all your needs anywhere in the country and also anywhere in the world. Ohio became the 17th state of the Union on March 1st, 1803. Also, the state tree is called the Buckeye. That's why this is called the Buckeye State. But interesting about the Buckeye tree grows a nut, which is actually poisonous. The entire tree, if ingested, is poisonous. So it's a beautiful tree, it's a beautiful nut, but just don't eat it.
We're here today celebrating our National Day of the Cowboy. We have a lot of events going on. So our participation with the Buckeye Classic, put on by the Ohio Amateur Quarter Horse Association and the Buckeye Western Association, is a 10-day event with 15,000 total entries and 750 horses. Since 2013, they've given away over 270,000 in free entries with exhibitors from more than 30 states and 3 countries. Their first annual donkey race raised over $27,000 for veterans this year. Rods is proud to be a presenting sponsor of the Buckeye Classic High Point Awards in all 12 divisions. What you're watching right now is English equitation, 14 to 18. They'll be doing patterns. The judges are looking for proper horsemanship and following the pattern guidelines. We've been attending this show since 2013.
Going across this great country, I've had an absolute wonderful time going around and meeting some of the wonderful youth from this country. I got Tanner Butcher. Hello, Tanner. How are you today?
Good.
And I got Luke Seaman. How are you, Luke?
Good.
Attaboy. These two fellas are right out of the center of the watermelon of the United States of America. This is what built this country. Here's a couple of young cowboys. So, Tanner, I was talking to you earlier, and one thing that struck me that you told me was very important is that you actually like doing some chores around the house, and you like helping out. Tell me about that. What do you do?
I clean with the manure, and sometimes I help my dad scrape the lot.
So you're mucking stalls and helping your dad. Does he let you drive the tractor yet?
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. I like driving tractors. Do you like driving them?
Yes.
Yeah. How about you, Luke? You like driving tractors? Not yet. Your feet might not reach the pedals yet. How old are you, Luke?
Good.
How old are you?
5.
5 years old. And what do you like doing?
Playing video games.
Playing video games. But you know, we also need to do some work because you know, at home there's lots of work to do.
I walk, not so much.
You do what?
I do walk, but not so much.
Yeah. Well, you got to do some work at home, and you got to help mom and dad because they work so hard, you know. Every day they work and they come home, and it sure be nice if a little bit of that work at home was done. And they could then not have to work as hard when they get home. So for you to help them out, that's a big thing for them. So what do you think? Can you step up the work a little bit? Do a little bit more work at home? Help mom with some of the housework maybe? Or help after dinner, clean the dishes?
No,
No?
I'm too tiny to do that.
Well, you could. All you gotta do is get a little step stool and maybe help with the dishes. It could happen. So will you promise me to do a little bit more work at home from now on?
Or if you give me all your money.
All my money? Everything I got?
Yes.
Okay, I got something for you, and I want to encourage you to get out and go to work just like Tanner's doing. Tanner's out helping. Tanner's a little bit older, but Tanner, when did you start working?
Since I was 4.
About 4 years old?
Yes.
I like it. I got something for both of you guys. I got a crisp $100 bill.
I'll take the 100.
Okay, you got it.
Oh, 100.
And we got
Gotta
100 for
do.
Tanner. But you got to promise me that you're going to go home and you're going to help more at home and help your mom and dad.
Tape.
Would you promise me that?
Yes.
Okay, shake on it. When you shake, that means it's a real, oh, I like it. It's a money shake. That's the money. All right, Tanner, you promise to keep working and doing a good job?
And also, there's a money fidget spinner.
Yeah.
And a price fidget spinner.
So what do you think you're going to do with that money?
Well, buy what I'm going to buy for after the interview.
What are you going to buy?
A nectar night.
Oh, really? Tanner, what are you going to buy?
Maybe a horse.
A horse. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters, and here we are, the next generation of the American cowboy and the American worker. These two have just promised me to start a bank account, put their money in the bank, buy a little something, but help more at home and earn some more money while they're growing up. Stay tuned. You are on the road with Noble Outfitters. More from Rod's Western Palace in Columbus, Ohio. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters, and we are having a treat today out here at Chuck Smith's ranch. And Chuck Smith is going to tell us all about how he got involved with Scott here, and between the two of them, how they've become buddies, how Rod's became a company, and also how these fellows have worked together and rode together for years. But deeper than that, though, Scott Hartl is a cutter. He's learned how to cut from Chuck, and Chuck is one of the world-renowned cutters. And I really, this segment of it is about a very interesting part of the Western horse lifestyle, and it is cutting. It's an event called cutting, and we're going to have some fun learning more about that today. Chuck, thank you for your hospitality out here today.
Glad to have you.
Very much appreciate it. And good to see you, my friend. We had a great time out at your store this morning. And
big day.
Oh my gosh, I got lost twice. You know, we started at the original little store, and then we got moving around and end up in parts of the building I never knew where I was.
Yeah, we couldn't find you for quite a while there.
Yeah, well, I took a nap back there at one point.
I thought you were going to wear that hat that you had on at the hat counter.
Did you see that?
With the peacock feather on it.
And the pink flower?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Eric at the hat bar, he told me I look good in it. I don't know about that. I'd really appreciate if you guys give us the nickel tour on how did all that get started.
Okay, well, I'll jump in, and you can kind of enhance my story as you often do. So, but Rod's was started up by Dan Evans back in 1976, and Dan Evans was chairman and CEO of Bob Evans Farms, the sausage and restaurant company, and Dan really propelled the growth of it over that 25-year period,
right,
and made it what it was. So he's a horseman. Dan was a horseman and a Western lifestyle enthusiast, and always loved riding. And he got into cutting, and he and Chuck hooked up at one point. But in '76, he started up Rod's, and he put it up on Silver Drive near the fairgrounds where the Congress is. And actually, Dan helped get the Colt Horse Congress going with a group of guys back at the beginning. So he was involved in that. We haven't even told you about that. So he got the store started, and my dad was doing the advertising for Bob Evans Farms back then. So I heard about this store, and I was in college at Ohio State, and got a part-time job somehow with my connection.
What year was that?
1976.
So you started right out when the store started?
I was there. I wasn't there the whole time. I was kind of in and out for a while, but I worked in the sales floor and even helping stock the shelves before it was open.
And Chuck, you were Dan's trainer. You guys worked together and were very much together on this whole cutting program.
Actually, I met Dan in 1976 to create, know him well enough to create a friendship. He wanted to learn how to ride cutting horses, and he also wanted to promote it so that everybody else could enjoy it as much as he did. So he had this farm that is actually right across the street from my place, and he said that if he would provide the property and he would build the buildings, if I would run a cutting horse operation and open it up to the public, especially amateurs, and teach them to ride as well as him. He didn't want to do it in a cheap way. He wanted to build a state-of-the-art facility at that time. He could leave his driveway. What he didn't tell me was he was leaving his driveway at 5 in the morning, and I had to be there to give him his lesson. Whether it was 20 below.
He's an early bird. That was a breakfast place.
He was an early bird, yeah.
Bob Evans had good breakfast.
So,
well, how did that get to you working at the store? But you're the owner of the store, so tell me how that transition came about.
Well, I started part-time there, and then I was an assistant manager for a while in the store, and then I had left for a period, and then in 1988 I got a chance to be partners with Dan in the store.
The original owner that started cutting with Chuck. So you became his partner.
I became his partner there for a couple years, and not long after that he sold the rest of it to my dad, so my dad and I became partners. And after I became a partner in '88, I started riding cutting horses with Chuck. Chuck got me down here and got
Chuck
me.
affected everybody.
Yeah,
He got everybody into cutting.
And he got me on a good old horse named Bald-Faced Coyote, and he let me ride him for free for several months, and then I got hooked and I had to buy him. So then I was hooked, and I showed horses with Chuck, and he tried to make me a good rider for 20 years, and I think he's still trying.
Well, I understand, Chuck. This guy hadn't been on a horse for a couple of years, but you were coaching him pretty good out there.
well, he hadn't been on a horse in a couple of years, and that horse he was working hadn't been worked in several months, so
he did pretty good.
They both have good memories.
So tell me the basics of cutting. What is the true art of the sport?
The true art of the sport developed in the West, mainly Texas and Oklahoma, where they had large herds of cattle and they didn't have fences. And so all these cattle were branded and they all intermingled. So that when every year or every 6 months when they had to separate calves from the cows, or they had to cut the steers out to ship them off to the markets, they would have these great roundups, and all the ranchers would bring their hands with them, and they would converge these cattle into a central place, no fences. So what happens is, if you have unruly horses and you don't have experienced people handling those cattle, the cattle will fracture and they'll run back into the open spaces. So it took very seasoned, smart people with horses that were very controllable and had this ingrained, what we call cow in them, to want to work those cattle. Kind of like what border collies want to do with cattle and sheep.
Right.
So the cutting horse was the most prized animal of all the ranchers. And the best hand and the best horse would be the one that rode into the large herds to cut out the cow. When they got it sufficiently from the herd, one of the other hands would get behind that cow and take it off, and they'd go in all different directions. So, of course, as competitive as ranchers are, it got down to, okay, who's got the best hand and who's got the best horse?
Then it became a sport.
So then it became a competition, and then it wasn't any money in it, but they took great pride in who was the best.
Right, but it was fascinating to watch how you were doing this. It was almost like you had an ability to show, to make the cow do what you wanted it to do. But it's interesting that it's you and the horse. There's no conversation. There's not a lot of this and that. It just seems like you and the horse are one mind at what's going on with that steer. So it's just fun to watch that interaction.
Actually, what you just explained is what hooks people to want to ride cutting horses. I was a world champion reining horse rider before I started riding cutting horses. And then this Dale Wilkinson that I ran Findlay College with put me on my first cutting horse. And he said, you think you're a pretty good hand, don't you? And I said, well, after all, I am a world champion. And he said, well, would you work this horse for me? And I want to see how it works. So I go down and I cut out a cow, and it was a lot tougher cow than what these were. And that horse went to working, and I lost my left stirrup, and then I lost my right stirrup, and then I lost my hat, and I wore glasses at the time, and they flew off into the dirt. I didn't come off, but I'd probably been better if I did. And then that did something to me at that point. And what I had done with all other forms of riding was that the rider is making the horse do something that's unnatural to it. But when I worked that cutting horse, I didn't do anything to him. He was working that cow. He wanted to do it. His attention was totally transformed onto doing a job. And I thought, well, I didn't help him any. I'm flopping all over the place here. So then with a little bit more practice, I learned a little bit more about you have to have a body language with the horse where he can sense your feel and you're knowing where you're supposed to be or not supposed to be.
Right. We have just had a blast out here. This has been great. Spending time out at the store and Ohio in general. You know, we had some fun facts throughout the show about Ohio that was really fun, and it's just it's a fun environment. There's a lot of fun people out here. We appreciate you and your business and what you're doing for the industry and for what you're doing with the industry, and we just hope you guys just keep on doing it and make it continue. It's fun.
Yeah, we want to keep the ball rolling, and remember tomorrow we have National Cowboy Day up the store. So
yeah, and guess what? I'm barbecuing.
Yeah, you're on the barbecue there, and we're going to have entertainment and your food and demonstrations and things for the kids.
That's going to be a blast.
Yeah, we're going to have a big time.
You are on the road with Noble Outfitters. This has been a blast out here. Chuck, thank you for your hospitality. Thank you for your hospitality. Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow at the barbecue. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. We're in Columbus, Ohio at Rod's Western Palace. And today we're at National Cowboy Day right here in Columbus, Ohio at Rod's celebrating. We're doing a little barbecue and we got Dreamer here. Dreamer is a beautiful horse. What are you, a quarter horse? Okay, okay, yeah, we'll go with that. And Dreamer's gonna help me barbecue, help me cook up for all the cowboys. And do you like cowboys? Yeah, you do. Do you like barbecue? It looks like you might like barbecue pretty good, huh? All right, you're on the road with Noble Outfitters. We're gonna barbecue up for all the cowboys here at Rod's Western Palace in Columbus, Ohio. Come out and see us. Take care.
So make sure you head on over there and get yourself a plate. Brought to you by Noble Outfitters.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Ready to ride across the prairie, right where the wild wind blows. He still works his cattle, just like 100 years ago.
So a lot of people think it's in your hands. It's not in your hands, it's more in your legs than it is your hands.
Ain't no Coca-Cola cowboy.
He's the real thing.
You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. We're in Columbus, Ohio at Rod's Western Palace. Cowboy Days here, happens every year. And we've been having some fun here this last few days at Rod's Western Palace. And today we have with us
Lynn Crum.
Lynn Crum, how are you?
Okay, how are you?
Every week we have a recipe of the week when we do our show. And Lynn Crum is going to tell us a little bit about this special recipe for a rhubarb pie, or kind of a rhubarb...
A strawberry rhubarb swirl.
Strawberry rhubarb swirl. And rhubarb is weird, you know, it's a weird vegetable or fruit, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
but I think it is a vegetable, right? Rhubarb's a vegetable.
Everybody has told me it's a fruit. I'm not
Well, because
sure.
the fruit's supposed to have seeds, I think,
I
right?
think so.
So a rhubarb, you know, doesn't have the seeds in it, but it is sour, but so much tasty. But how you do it and how you process it, it all works out to make a nice swirl.
Correct.
So we're gonna try that out. We're gonna have you tell us how you make this rhubarb swirl. Rhubarb strawberry swirl.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, you start with the, take the rhubarb, you chop it up, and you put it in half a cup of sugar for an hour, and that'll get juices coming out of the rhubarb. And then you cook the rhubarb for just about 2 or 3 minutes is all it'll take to soften it up. And then you take a Jell-O, small package of Jell-O, and you put it in boiling water.
What flavor Jell-O?
Strawberry.
Strawberry Jell-O. Okay.
And then you put the rhubarb juice in because it adds more of the rhubarb's flavor. And then that all cools, and then you take milk and sugar and flour or cornstarch, and you make a nice thick, pasty, thick cream. And then you mix that with unflavored gelatin and a little bit of vanilla. You let that cool, and then you take heavy whipping cream and you mix heavy whipping cream in and get it all nice and fluffy. You mix up your Jell-O rhubarb combination, get it all nice and fluffy, and put it in a graham cracker pie crust.
You're not going to have to remember all this because we always give you our recipes for all of these ingredients and all of our wonderful recipes of the week. Go to nobleoutfitters.com RFDTV and you can get all the recipes for these and this delicious rhubarb strawberry. What do you call it? It's kind of fluffy.
It's a fluff, yeah. It's almost, it's always, my grandma always called it strawberry rhubarb swirl, but it's almost the old-fashioned today's fluff recipes.
You know, you get the flavor of the strawberries for sure, but it's that rhubarb that kicks in.
Yeah.
In the background, in the back of your tongue, gives it a little zing.
Yeah, and if you don't know what rhubarb tastes like, and you don't know what rhubarb is, it's one of those things that make you go,
but a strawberry rhubarb it's just a match made in heaven. You know, I mean, those two go together well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time today.
No problem.
And thank you for your recipe. You're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Enjoy this wonderful recipe. We'll be right back.
Noble Outfitters, all-around work boot for the country's best athletes.
The object of this is for the rider and the horse to be able to enter the herd quietly and to be able to separate out a single cow without much disturbance to the rest of the herd. Now, Scott, you need to be driving up forward because you don't want to drop your hand back in the herd. Don't hold him back with your hand, just keep walking up forward. Stay up in the neck of the cow that you're going to cut. And step on now a little, now drop your hand. Now the idea, this doesn't have to be fast, but the horse has to hold the line and do the mirror image of the cow.
We've had a wonderful time here in the state of Ohio at Rod's Western Palace. Thank you, Scott Hartle, for your wonderful hospitality today. Beautiful stores, beautiful operation, and great people.
Thanks for coming out. We've enjoyed having you here.
Absolutely. Until next time, you're on the road with Noble Outfitters. Happy trails.
Happy trails to you until